So we kind of rebranded during 2020 where I'm actually doing things like all year round.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm like gluttonous for punishment. I'm like more. Why not? And I love it so much. And I'm so passionate about it. So anytime an opportunity comes up, I want NOWFE to take it.
This is festivalPass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next. All right, friends, welcome back to the festivalPass Stories podcast, where we are, of course, presented by Dos Hombres, the artisanal mezcal meant to be shared, created by Aaron Paul and Brian Cranston, a couple hombres themselves. Have a drink with us at doshombres.com/delivery, and we will be talking about some cocktails and drinks with our guests today, which we'll get to in just a moment. And friends, you ever wanted to have the opportunity to invest in a product early that could be the next Airbnb? You got me. I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Learn why entrepreneurs and celebrities with exits approaching $10 billion US have already invested in festivalPass. Go to invest.festivalpass.com to learn more. Now, folks, my guest today is fresh off running what USA Today called a top 10 festival. Whew. Wow. I am very excited about this one. So please give a very warm festivalPass welcome to the very well-rested. Yeah, so right. She's very well-rested. The executive director of the New Orleans Wine and Food Experience, NOWFE or NOWFE. We're going to find out what the actual acronym is, the correct way to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Aimee Brown. Aimee, what's happening?
How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Aimee, this is a pleasure. I can't believe it was so much to talk about, and we only have 9 hours and 30 minutes to do it. So I appreciate you giving us your entire day for this. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
My producers are telling me it's okay. All right. We've got a little less than an hour here, so we got to get to it. So, and I love when they say that in these things, let's get right to it. Instead of clearing our throat for the next 45 minutes, we're going to do this. So, I made sure that I devoured a po' boy. I almost called it a poor boy. Po' boy. Right before this interview, because we're going to be talking food and New Orleans food. And I was just down there. Well, I was actually down there during the pandemic. I can explain. As a vaccinated person, I can explain this. But, I didn't want the viewers to witness my actual drool coming out of my mouth while we talked about po' boys of all kinds and all the great food that you're going to have here. I will apologize. It was a New York style po' boy, so it's more like it kind of is a poor boy. It's just like a poor dude. It's a poor dude.
That's super.
So it wasn't the real thing.
I hate that for you. You'll have to come back. We'll get you a New Orleans po' boy for you.
Yeah, anywhere, anything really. Just hook me up. But I am well fed, so as long as I don't go to a food coma, we'll get through this just fine. But we'll get to the grand prize, aka NOWFE. You'll tell me about that in a second. But let's talk about how you got here. I heard of the legendary Tales of the Cocktail events, actually from the Dos Hombres guys themselves, and our sponsor here. Now, these guys are veterans of that event, and now they're running this brand. But I've never been invited to this event. They always talk about it, and I guess it's just like, sorry, dude. Sorry, po' boy. Sorry, poor boy. It is just industry insiders. But what tales can you tell me of the Tales of the Cocktail event? I got to hear some stories about this event. I just want to feel like I'm in that rare air.
So it really was my first job in the industry. So I just have so much respect for that organization. That was a while ago. It was under different leadership at the time, but it really was amazing. I mean, they had seminars, incredible after parties. I mean, events that I will never forget. There was an event where they literally had like a camel just like running around and like women on like roller skates. I mean, honestly, I'll never forget those events. And it made me fall in love with the industry. Truly, I can truly say that my start in the event planning fields, but also wanting to be in the food and wine industry started out with spirits and being involved with Tales of the Cocktail. And I also, my main job when I was with them was helping put on the Spirited Awards. So I just had a lot of fun, and it made me fall in love with it.
So the camel was one of the humps was like full of like Clooney's tequila or something like that. And
probably
we were just like putting a spout on the side of it or something. It was a real camel though, you mean? Like an actual desert camel.
An actual camel. They just always did things like that. Like that's just like one example of like just hundreds of things that were just like so random but so amazing. And it really opened my eyes to that. You can do anything in event planning. You don't have to just sit down with a 4-course meal and just listen to someone talk. Like you can really have fun with this thing. And I totally learned that from Tales of the Cocktail. Just had a great time and amazing learning opportunity.
You look at your business card and it says, someone's like, oh, look at that. Event planning. We're more than just table seating or, seating charts. We're more than just seating charts. Yes. Right. There's 100 things that go into these events. That's why it is a multi-billion dollar business. And so excited that it's all coming back now in person. No more of this virtual stuff, except for here today. This is lovely, but this is just because virtual. Yeah, we're just practicing a little virtual in case it ever comes back. Knock on wood. Hope that it's going to be more in the past than the future. But you graduate Loyola New Orleans, and you're hustling. You're getting more experience in the events world, including wedding planning, which you were doing, and then you're with the Sheraton, and then the Vincent Mann Art Gallery. That you must have had some interesting clientele coming in that place.
So I just had so many different jobs. I just honestly, and it's interesting how people kind of think, oh, when you're graduating high school, you need to know exactly what you're doing. I really took like going to job interviews, being at work as an opportunity to figure out what I want to do. And so that's why I send my resume to people. I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason to this. Like, are you sure you want it? Like, you're not going to find out answers about me because it's just like so random. Like I even worked like an animal clinic for a while. So I have so many different passions and I really focused on that while I was like choosing different career paths. But I really have figured out what I want to do. I knew it was event planning, but there's so much you can do in event planning. I mean, meetings and events at a hotel, wedding planning, working with cocktails. And then I found NOWFE, and I just knew that I finally figured out my niche in the field. And I totally am all about food and wine, and there's just no going back for me. This is it forever. I want to be in this industry forever.
Amazing. It was right now, because you're like right now and forever. This is what I want to do. So that was 2016, if I believe. So what was your first role within the organization and the festival?
So I had literally just had my son, and this is very New Orleans for people to keep in touch and really be caring. My old boss, Tales of the Cocktail, reached out to me, and she was like, her name's Michelle Dunnick, and she was like, I found this listing on a website that posts jobs. It's called worknola.com. And she's like, it's for the assistant to the executive director of the New Orleans Wine and Food Experience. And I was like, well, I just had a baby like a month ago. Like I just popped out this thing, but like, maybe I'll go do the interview. Why not?
Yeah.
So then I went to the interview. It was amazing. And I was just like, this is it. I'm ready for it. And so I was ready to kind of get back into work and really do this thing. So I was assistant for a long time, which I think really helped me get into the organization, learn the ins and the outs of it, really have that time to, be an outsider, kind of seeing everything that's going on. And, by the time that my predecessor left, I felt confident to drop my resume in the hat. And then I ended up doing it. So it was a long journey to get here, but I'm so appreciative of that journey. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of work, but so much fun.
Yeah. Look, you had all that great experience, and then you learned this organization inside and out from, the assistant job. It's like a bad title for it because it's like executive director. I mean, I guess when you can say executive assistant, it sounds much better. But I mean, there really was no job description for that. It was like, guess what you're going to do? Everything that I can't as executive director,
Right.
You've got to be my right arm.
Right.
And you had to be.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of with the organization. So now I actually am the only employee. So I do have to learn, a lot of different things. We contract help, PR, an event management team that really helps me like week of and leading up to the event. But I am the only New Orleans wine and food experience employee now. And so I really have had to learn everything from finding winery participants, restaurant participants, sponsorship, ticketing, social media. I mean, it was really amazing coming into this job. Normally there was a person in every department doing one of those things. And NOWFE is a 40 event festival. And so I've just got to learn so much. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
So, and you said that 40 events, I was going to say plan is not the right word. When we're talking about using the correct word, you curate 40 plus, not just 40, you're being humble, 40 plus events during the week-long festival, which of course, it sounds like it should take a year long to do that, but you do this all. I mean, how New Orleans is that, right? It's like, well, it's just going to be potted around the clock everywhere. And you're like, what is that? What is that accent? Is that
no, that actually was a very good accent. I'm very impressed, honestly. That was good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll throw it on my my acting resume. Also does New Orleans Creole accent. I'll have to call Bryan Cranston, see if they're going to do a sequel to the show that he just did.
Yes, you should be on it.
That was Your Honor, I believe, right? I should know the name because, like, wow, that was crazy. Did you see that?
Honestly, I'm embarrassed by the shows that I watch. It's like by the time I'm done with work and like the end of the day from like taking care of my kid, I put on like Love Island, like reality.
What's wrong with Love Island? Guilty as charged. I watched.
It makes me want to like move to Australia and just like ditch it all. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You're going to Australia for vacation. You're like, no, I'm moving there just with Wi-Fi.
To be with my iPad. Birds. Oh my God. I love that show. So anytime someone talks about this like award nominated show, I'm like, I've been watching Love and Hip Hop Atlanta and Love Island. So
you have got to see The Handmaid's Tale. And you're like, I just don't need to see real stuff. I don't need to see anything
at all.
I live real stuff every day. I've got a small child. I've got an organization, by the way. I'm the only employee at the organization.
Right.
And on that note, I mean, you finished the 2021 event, and I imagine you are already, as soon as you like turn the lights off on that event, you're already planning 2022. You got to be knee deep in it already.
So we kind of rebranded during 2020 where I'm actually doing things like all year round.
Yeah. That's good.
I'm like gluttonous for punishment. I'm like more. Why not?
It's in your blood at this point. It's in your blood.
Exactly. And I love it so much. And I'm so passionate about it. So anytime an opportunity comes up, I want NOWFE to take it. And so that's what we've been doing. So we had to, March 18th, 2020 is when we were due to have our festival.
Yeah.
March 11th is when we had to make the announcement. So one week to the festival. And we just said postponed. It wasn't even canceled. And I'll tell you why. Yes, we didn't put on a 2020 event that was 40 events and 6 days long, but we rebranded ourselves. So I had 65 wine dinners all throughout COVID. The capacity was whatever the restaurant could handle at the time with the rules and regulations of the city.
Okay.
And then I had 3 small tastings. So we've kept going all throughout everything that's happened. And it's really made us rebrand and kind of start a new idea of what NOWFE means. And so normally, yes, all year round, I am just planning the 5-day festival. Really not anymore. We saw the success with the wine dinners, so we're keeping that going, having that all throughout the year. And then I actually am doing a couple of events for NOWFE in Denver this August 30th to September 2nd. I'm making NOWFE kind of national in like a small way.
Well, so it's NOWFE. What are we calling it? And or NOWFE did the Denver experience.
Wait, I love that so much. I actually hadn't thought about that. NOWFE. I'm obsessed. So it is just NOWFE in Denver. So we're starting off very small. I was approached by somebody who used to live in New Orleans and now lives in Denver, and we're friends. And she was like, how cool would that be if we brought a New Orleans event here? And you're the first person I thought of. I was like, say no more. I'm there.
Yeah. Well, I got some Denver folks for you, so I'll send the Denver folks your way.
Amazing.
And you mentioned these smaller dinners, and you're noticing something that, like, the guys that are involved in Dos Hombres. I mean, one of them used to be with Jameson, and then like really high end whiskey or Scotch, I should say, like the Macallan. And that's the last shout out they'll get because they're not a sponsor of the podcast. So sorry, guys, but that's part of his resume. And I'd be like, oh, can you sponsor this event we're working on? And it's like 1,000 people. And he's like, I'd rather just spend the money on like a higher end, like 20 people, maybe 10, and sit there with one of the distillers of the Scotch and talk about this and the effect on getting the product into smaller groups like that just is so much more worth their dollar. And it sounds like your sponsors are finding this out as well through these smaller, more intimate experiences. And there were these little gifts that COVID gave us along the way. And I don't mean COVID. I mean the quarantine time when we had to, you rethought, you rebranded, you reframed, if you will, the whole experience. And
that's right.
You said, let's try this. Let's see how this works. And you're like, this is our thing. This is what we're doing now. That's incredible. And I think a lot of organizations from the nonprofit side and so on figured that out, and they're like, well, we don't have to do this anymore. We can do this, or and it's amazing. And you're probably saving a lot of money on overhead costs doing those things.
Yeah, it really has been an amazing time to reflect on what works or what does not work. I mean, we are a 29-year-old organization in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That comes with a lot of tradition. That also comes with a lot of things that we felt we had to do because of memories and people loving because of tradition. And that
the nostalgia, you gotta, it's so hard to just kill the nostalgia if you're like, how much nostalgia is costing us?
Right. Like so much money. And so I think that we really just took the time to be like, this isn't feasible anymore. Let's make it new. Let's make it fresh. And that's exactly what we've done, bringing small events to Denver. I don't know if we would have ever thought to do that before COVID. We just had a fresh, open mind, and it opened up opportunities. And we saw that with the festival that we just had 2 weeks ago. We really rebranded, had new ideas, and people were really receptive to it and loved it.
It's incredible. And I mentioned nonprofits, and I would say another reason that NOWFE is your dream job is because it brings in your love of giving back. And I see that, just correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe the decimal was in the wrong place, but did I see that this festival run by one person has now given away $1.5 million? Is that correct?
It has. So, but I have to give a shout out to who helps me on a daily basis. I really would be nowhere with this festival if it weren't for my board of directors and also my restaurant and winery people, because they are the reason we're able to give back. And so I'm so grateful for people that have helped my nonprofit. It's been incredible.
Yeah. Shout out to the board. What's up, board? What's up, restaurants, wine people? What's up? I don't know what that voice was either, but that was, we're just trying new things here today.
It's a good shout out.
Yes. Excellent shout out to the board, to the wine people, and everything else. So how does the festival raise money, and then who actually benefits from this? I did see you have a Ella Brennan Stand Up for Your Hometown Awards gala as well? I imagine that's so you sell tickets to that, and
So
really, how do you raise it, and then where does it go?
So all of our events are ticketed. So whenever we come up with an event idea, figure out who's going to be involved, it is on NOWFE.com for purchase. And so 100% of the ticketing dollars, and especially sponsorship dollars, we give back to culinary education programs in New Orleans. And so each year we find a new culinary program or school to give back to. The past 2 years, actually, we've given back to Cafe Reconcile and also the New Orleans Culinary and Hospitality Institute.
What's Cafe Reconcile?
It's incredible. It's a program. They also are a restaurant, so they do serve lunch, but they're teaching people, I think it's 18 to 24-year-olds that, want to learn how to do hostessing, want to be in the kitchen, want to learn about different facets of the restaurant industry. And they're teaching them how to do that. And that's actually who's serving your food, the student chefs, when you go there for lunch. So we just love the industry and want to give back to the industry.
Love it. I went to college up by the Culinary Institute of America, which is, obviously that's on a different level, but I always thought it was so cool that the whole staff, they're like, you're being served by the students tonight. Right. And the students are cooking, preparing, curating these meals. And like the experience, it was like, man, they are learning every angle of not just the restaurant, but the hospitality business in general, not just behind the kitchen door. So it was really, really cool. And I love that idea. And man, does the industry need qualified help right now as everything continues to open up? Yeah. There's just some states just still have these crazy benefits out there. So people are like, I'm just going to stay home. I'll just stay home. Yeah.
There is, I actually was just talking with a chef about this yesterday. There is a huge staffing crisis. He was telling me that, they have to actively be looking for jobs. And so some people would interviews with him and then no show. So, it's definitely a hard time for that in New Orleans right now, but hopefully we see that kind of coming to an end soon and people can get back to work.
Yes, we need it. And then it's like, I've even seen like where there's been some supply chain issues with food getting to places. And I've been to some restaurants, even in New York, where it's like, sorry, we're out of that. I'm like, right. Really, this place is never, it's like a place in my neighborhood that's just a big restaurant.
It's like a steakhouse and there's no steak.
Yeah. They're like, can I interest you in the fish option this evening? I'm like, it says Big Steer Steakhouse outside. I want some Big Steer steak. And they're like, yeah, how about tonight we are big tuna and salmon house tonight. Okay.
Yes, it definitely is an issue right now, but I think things are getting better. And I'm just praying for the industry. It's been a hard year and a half.
Yeah. So friends, if you want to drive a truck, which I did when I was a teenager, did the produce truck route. It was one of my favorite jobs of all time. Talk about a resume and people looking at it like, so, wow, you used to drive a truck and now you want to do this for us? I'm like, that's correct. Now I'm hosting a podcast. I'll host a podcast from the truck if we can. I'd be happy.
So your resume has many different things too. So we're on the same wavelength here.
It's very colorful.
Yes.
At least that's what my father, I think that's the word my father uses it for. But anyway, point is, anyway, the gala. I want to talk about the gala for a minute. Is this like the culmination of the whole 40 plus events? Is this the big coronation evening, or is this just one of many events happening?
So we actually usually have that in January, but because of COVID, we didn't want to just, take it off the books. So we were like, why not add more to our plate and just have it during NOWFE week? Why not? But normally, so yes, I do have the 5-day festival every year, but then normally I have the Ella Brennan Award Gala in January, and that's where we honor someone in the industry. We did it a little bit different this year. We couldn't choose just one. So we made it a special year where we honored 13 organizations that gave back to the community during COVID. And because of COVID, we couldn't have a room with 500 people. So we had it at 3 separate restaurants, all happening at the same time, each restaurant honoring, 4 people of the 13, 4 or 5 people. So normally that's a big event that we have, big industry event that we have in January, but we just kind of had it during NOWFE week this year just because of timing.
Now, I don't know much about the gala, but is the Brennan, is that the famous restaurant Brennan's, like Brennan's restaurant in New Orleans?
Yes. So they are a huge family in New Orleans. They have many different restaurants, and they are just the culinary mecca of New Orleans. They're incredible. They've been amazing NOWFE partners for a long time. And it was just really an honor for us to honor Ella Brennan all these years. And so, I mean, she just loved this industry, loved this city. Yeah. And that's what NOWFE stands for. And so it was a no-brainer to have an event that honors somebody that feels the same way in the community each year.
Incredible. Hey, you never know. Need an auctioneer next year? You know who to call.
I mean, so we could.
Yeah. Let's keep why? Let's sell some food. The number one. So I'm being serious here, and this isn't just pandering to what you guys do, but the number one thing I sell at any event, and I've done this with chefs like Todd English, Mark Vetri, who I know that you guys know well. Just so many great chefs. I mean, it could go on for days with this.
Yeah.
But the experience of this chef's coming to your house to prepare a dinner for 10 people,
that.
Along, and did this Make-A-Wish Foundation event with Todd English. And he's like, I think he's a partner, or he owns a piece of Whispering Angel. So he's like, we're going to do a whole rosé thing out on the porch before we start. We're like, whoa, look at this. He's like, and then we're doing this. And, he's got the food hall in New York.
I love that.
And it's like, and just those kind of experiences, like you could raise $100,000 with 5 awesome chef in-home experiences with 5 different chefs. And obviously you have those people in your Rolodex, for lack of a more, in your cloud, I should say, we can't say Rolodex anymore. That's just really, wow. How old are you? Tell me. Yes. On my desk, I've got my Rolodex. It's all paper. And then I dial with a pencil in the rotary phone.
Oh my gosh. No, I agree with you. I think that people love those type of intimate experiences. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, chefs are celebrities. It could be somebody that we see on TV, Gordon Ramsay, or a small family restaurant in New Orleans. They're a celebrity to me. And I know so many other people feel that way. And so to have them in your home, I mean, you just feel like it's just so special. And so auction or not, if I'm able to get into an opportunity like that, I'm there. Count me in. So I know
getting invited. Right. You get the call that you're getting invited to one of those dinners. You're like, well, when is this? It's Friday night. Well, I do have my kids' recital, but what's the recital going to do? Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
Oh, it's
somebody will tape it. I'll watch it afterwards.
It's an automatic yes. We figure out the rest later.
So let's break down your festival by the numbers, because there's a lot of numbers in this, and you guys have some incredible data. But essentially, in based on the 2019, I know 2020 was a different story for many reasons. Mm-hmm. But you had 7,000 plus guests in 2019 coming through those 40 plus events through the doors. How many, if you guys do go back to that kind of model, or you do this across these smaller dinners, are you thinking you're going to have that kind of crowd again in 2022 or did you have it here this year?
So we definitely still had a smaller version of the festival this year. It really was not the numbers that we normally see. I mean, we've had 10,000 people at NOWFE before. And so I really only had 250 people at some of my events. And I can go through the events with you guys too, but it was just so different. So we didn't have those types of numbers. We still logistically planned for a socially distanced, seated, safe event. And so I just couldn't have 1,000 people in my grand tastings. I had 250. Yeah. So it was a very different year for us. 2022 fully are prepared to go back to normal, have those types of numbers. But I actually really did like some of the smaller aspects to it. And our vendors really liked that too, because they were able to really talk with all of the attendees that came up to their table, talk about their wine. I had restaurants tell me that for the first time in 29 years, they were able to make reservations at their restaurant on the spot at my grand tastings, because they were just able to intimately have these conversations.
Right.
when normally in the past, it was just like they couldn't plate fast enough because they just had to like feed the masses. So I actually saw such a uniqueness to this past event with its intimacy. And I think that that's something we really have to consider moving forward. I don't know if we'll ever have those types of numbers at our biggest again, because I saw so much that was giving back to our partners to have that smaller, intimate experience.
That's amazing. It's normally like a meet and greet where it's like, okay, you got your picture in front of the step and repeat with the celebrity. Move it on. Let's go. Let's go. Who's next? We've got 500 people to go. Let's go. But now they're just able to say, this is delicious. What is that spice? That's a nutmeg. Ooh, it's delicious. And they're just making reservations on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Selling wine, everything like that. So I'm happy for them that they truly saw a return in the event. You know, it's normally they're kind of doing it to give back to the nonprofit. They want to support New Orleans, so they're going to do it. I had them really telling me this year, sign us up for next year. We got a ton of people in the restaurant. I have people flying out to California next month to come to the winery. All of that makes it worth it for me.
You know, and this is not, I think when more we keep talking about these smaller, intimate crowds, because your demographic is not, you know, a lot of the festivals, we interviewed 2 young people who run an EDM festival. Wow. And I had to say, Siri, what's EDM? And she's like, it's something that you'll never attend in person. I'm like, thank you. So I'm like, I'm guessing that's electronic dance music. I'm just going to go with that. So, you know, you've got that festival, thousands of people and so on, but your demographic's is a little different. 50-ish, 200,000 annual income, you know, probably people that either have grown kids or just never, you know, a couple of dinks like me and my wife, double income, no kids kind of thing, you know, and they're like, hey, let's go to New Orleans. Let's have the big experience. So I would imagine that they're maybe not clamoring for it, but you saw it and you guys are responding to it. So they're like, we love this, smaller, better, not a, not a meat market kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, I want people to enjoy their time. When it was getting very crowded, kind of could be the vibe of like a drunk fest. We don't want that. I mean, we have some like $350 bottles of wine at some of our events. You know, people shouldn't be getting drunk off of that. So, I mean,
classy drunks.
That's what we're trying. And so, I mean, there's definitely a time and place for that. Like,
yes,
for sure. But,
at the Mark Vetri dinner at your house, you know, out back.
Oh, and people can get drunk at NOWFE, but I just don't want all 40 events to feel that way. And so, you know, I think that people were taking their time and sitting down, talking with their friends, talking with the winemakers. So how we did it this year was very different. So on Wednesday night, that is kind of the kickoff to NOWFE week. We have our wine dinners at 15 different restaurants. And then that's the next night is really when NOWFE week starts at our venues. So on Thursday, we do a premium wine event called Vinola. There's no red wine in the room less than $75. So it's kind of wine connoisseurs come to this industry, people that really know and love wine and appreciate it. Like all of our other events, there's a ton of food. Wine and food are kind of equal in terms of participation. Vinola is really the wine event of NOWFE. And we had to make it seated. You know, normally people are going up to tables. We made everything socially distanced. And so all the wine came to them. And so people tasted a lot of wine at that Vinola event. It was something. I think we learned from that. That was a lot. They got to try like 32 wines or something like that.
Yeah. So unless you're spitting it out after the tasting, you are going to get drunk. I mean, we all have a tolerance, but
right. Well, we were hoping people were going to pour it out in time for the next flight, and then they just like weren't. So we're like, okay. So then, because we had to have
flight, you said flight. It sounds like a couple of drunk flights I've been on, to Vegas or something.
They were drinking it all. And then, so we actually had 2 Vinolas that day just because we needed to make up for the numbers that we weren't going to have due to COVID. And so we completely changed it for the evening event. We were like, we can't have that again. So we pushed the tables and we had people walking around to try, and the vibe was very different. So we like worked in real time about what works during event planning and COVID and what doesn't.
I mean, last year's word was pivot, right? So you guys just you're like, we're gonna pivot. We're pivot. We're gonna be like
1 hour
Ross
before.
We're like Ross and Chandler moving that couch and Friends. Pivot again.
That was happening. And so then it kind of after Thursday, then we go into our Friday events. I've got seminars in the morning. And then I've got the start of my grand tastings. And because I couldn't have 1,000 people each day, I only had 250. So I made another session. That's kind of how we made up for like attendees and revenue. 2 Vinolas, 3 grand tastings. It was a lot. Normally we're not having that many events. And so every single person got a seat. COVID planning was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Normally it was no seats. And so then we would email every single attendee to have them tell us who they're sitting with so we could give them a pod. So they could only sit with their friends and family or whoever they got tickets with. Yeah. So it was I'll never forget it. I'll never forget planning during COVID. It was something.
Yeah, but that had to make people feel comfortable. You guys were going with protocol and they're like, well, this is my group. I know where these people have been. It's like, I don't know where table 25's been, so I'm not going anywhere near there. It's amazing. And again, not to beat it, but you have learned so much and the festival's only going to get better.
Right.
And it's got the impact on the city, even in a tough year like last year. It's usually about $8 million impact on the city. That's incredible. It's 40 plus events, but it's one event in like that's when you think about that, you think about how important tourism is. And a lot of people that come to this festival are Louisiana people. There are a lot of locals. I think it was like almost half of the people coming are actually residents and taxpayers. Maybe not as much as they maybe I don't know if they're honest taxpayers or not, but taxpayers of the state of Louisiana.
Yes, we do have a lot of love from Louisiana residents. And then we do have a handful of VIPs that's been coming in for 29 years from California. So they just like live their best life, come to New Orleans every year. And I've become like best friends with them. Like, honestly, I see them every single year. They can't wait for NOWFE. So we do get a lot of love from many different states. It's really amazing. And they follow along with NOWFE and see what we're doing and can't wait to come the next year. We have a very loyal base of attendees.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Loyal, good demographic sponsors are lining up. Do you hear that, Dos Hombres? You got to be back next year. Got to be there. High-end folks, they need to taste the world's best mezcal.
Exactly.
And now the California people are like, oh, Denver, gorgeous. Yeah, get us there. That's it. We could drive.
Exactly. Kind of. So, yes, I mean, we absolutely...
They can drive to New Orleans too. It's just stop at bars along the way, have a little road trip.
Exactly. I mean, I've done it before. It's like kind of hellish, but it can be done.
You've got these people are loyal. They're flying across country to come to see you. That is saying something, because these are people that are just, they're very busy. They've got a full social calendar, and they have made sure that this is appointment viewing, if you will, appointment television or appointment, like every year on the calendar, that's getting hard marked in there with a Sharpie. We're signing it. We're going. We're gonna be there. We're not gonna miss out.
And I so appreciate that about them. And also too, I really do feel that NOWFE has something for everyone. And that's where we get a lot of our locals, participating as well. I mean, throughout the 40 events, of course, we have our main ones, Vinola, the grand tastings that I've talked about, the burlesque brunch that we had. But we also have a lot of smaller events that make up that 40 number, and we call them experiences. So each year we come up with new content. It could be an event for 12 people. One of them we had at this restaurant called Koshan Butcher, and they got to learn how to make sausages and like go back into the kitchen. And that was for 12 people. And so we have a lot of experiences throughout the week. And I think that it's really inclusive for everybody with a lot of the different content and event ideas that we have. And so, we have for a seminar, Wine Tasting 101, because NOWFE really should be inclusive. There should be something for everybody. So it can be for the high-end wine connoisseur, but then we absolutely welcome first-time wine drinkers to come enjoy with us, because at the end of the day, yes, some of the events are more industry, but all of the events are meant to just have fun.
Yeah, and I was talking to the founder of CL Buteau Winery. What a story he had. Here I am promoting other podcasts, but he went to Napa for a decade with a 10-year plan to come back and plant grapes and make 100% Texas wine, which people are like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I've heard of other spirits and beer coming out of Texas, but like, high-end wine, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done it. And I was saying, like, why is it just so intimidating? And he's like, it's a new experience. And, any new experience can be intimidating, but we want to make it friendly and fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want people to buy our product, right? It's like at the end of it. So like, let's not put on errors about this wine. Let's all realize that from step one, like this is what you should be getting out of the experience, and you should be enjoying it. So why make it difficult?
Welcome. Exactly. I completely feel the same way. And then also NOWFE too. I mean, of course, wine is a huge aspect, but everybody is welcome when it comes to food. You don't have to be like a food connoisseur to enjoy. We've got incredible New Orleans restaurants. That's what NOWFE does. We celebrate local, amazing culinary talent. We're celebrating New Orleans cuisine. And so we're so grateful for the restaurants that participate, and our attendees love it because it's the restaurants that they've come to know and love that symbolize New Orleans.
Yeah. A gastronomic experience, no doubt. And besides those great chefs from New Orleans, you've also had some of the top celebrity chefs that were mentioned before. I know you've had Mark Vetri there, and as I mentioned, I know him from other events, and he's given back, and he works with a great organization in New York called the Stuttering Alliance for the Youth, and he's a great story of overcoming his stutter, and is very proud that that's part of his life still. And he's just does such great things for kids and charity, and he's an unbelievable guy. But he had the #1 Italian restaurant in the country, Vetri Cucina in Philadelphia.
Wow.
What's the craziest thing that you've ever seen from one of these chefs? Because some of these personalities, right?
Right.
I mean, like I was saying, Todd English, like he's like, I'm like, and to help me with this live auction item, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, he already has a microphone. And Todd's like, yeah, I get these are built into my tuxedos. Okay, what are we doing? Like he just pulled the mic right out of the Armani and was like ready to rock and roll, and started offering all this additional stuff. So what kind of, not even giving somebody a microphone, but you've had Paula Dean and Aaron Sanchez. These are Food Network, Cooking Channel. These are personalities that have massive followings. Yeah, so there's got to be something that you've seen that you can say here without, So you're like, can we stop recording for a second? Because I've got a great story.
I mean, honestly, when because we honored Emeril Lagasse with the Ella Brennan Award. Aaron Sanchez has done a lot of NOWFE events. Artie Sequeira from Next Food Network Star came, and honestly, they have been incredibly professionally behaved, and it's not something that I'm shocked by any means. I mean,
I'm so disappointed.
I know I really don't have these like crazy stories because they were honestly such a pleasure to work with. I loved and incredibly honored from my time that I got to work with Emeril Lagasse on his event. And it's just meant so much to me that they want to be a part of this, and especially chefs that have traveled to come to NOWFE, like Artie Sequeira. They see our mission, They know we're a nonprofit and they're just like, hell yeah, I want to come to New Orleans. Of course, I'm there. And they're just having a good time. And I can see them that they're so happy in their element being able to be there. And so I'm very thankful for all of their participation. But honestly, none of them have misbehaved for me for a story. I'm like kind of sad to say.
They're just awesome.
They were all amazing.
Yeah.
They were incredible.
So folks, these are celebrities in their own right, but totally approachable and awesome people. And get there, get your tickets, because you will meet them in person. You press the flesh, which we can now do again if you're vaccinated. And there's events from small to large. There's wine dinners, there's the galas, there's the grand tastings. And now that summer is here, I'm intrigued by this tournament of rosés. What is going on with the tournament of rosés? Because that sounds like a pretty decent weekend in the Hamptons.
So we actually just came up with that idea 2 years ago, and the event was so successful that we're going to have it annually. So we made a rosé competition, and we have it on this really beautiful street in New Orleans called Fulton Street. And people are trying different rosés from different regions of the world, and then they're casting their vote to pick their favorite rosé. And we have a winner. So the wineries love it because it's kind of friendly competition. And then our attendees love it because I don't think that there's enough out there about that there's different rosé. Like, I think people kind of think of rosé as all the same, and it's not. I mean, they do have different flavor profiles, rosés from Spain or anywhere in the Southern Hemisphere or France. I mean, that's really the point of Tournament of Rosés, to celebrate the variety of rosés and then pick your favorite. And we've got a winner. So it's fun for everyone involved.
Yeah, we had one last summer called Bandol. I was just, and I was like, this is, we did our own little tournament of rosés. This is me, like, instead of like, in the summer, you got to lighten it up a bit. Right.
Right.
Rosés.
And no, I love rosé, and it's
men drink it. It's okay. Men drink rosé. Be proud of it. Get excited.
That's what I'm saying. There's no reason for you to be ashamed about your rosé drinking.
Yeah. It's like, I never really loved white wine, but I really like rosé. And
love that.
There's so many great varieties out there that love this. The tournament of when they say rosé all day, you're like, oh, I think we invented that here with the tournament of these actual rosés.
Exactly.
So then there's also I couldn't imagine even being able to attend an after party after a grand tasting, but after Saturday night, there's an after party after the grand tasting. How is this? Is this like only the strong will survive?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think I can ever do it again. I'm not kidding. The attendees that did show, like all 10 of them, like we were all just haggard. Like and my after party was on Bourbon Street too, to like even make matters worse. Ooh, and it was like so crowded. It really was survival of the fittest, because you had to like swim through people walking on Bourbon Street to get to the event. And so when we came, it was like the diehards, like the people that have been coming to NOWFE forever were there. I've known them for so many years. I don't think we can ever do an after party again. It's just not physically or emotionally possible.
We've done it, folks. It's the after party to end all after parties. And man, no one likes an after party like I like an after party. Can ask some friends of mine that get married. I'm like, well, what can I do? And they're like, yeah, my buddy Scott was like, you could plan the after party. Take care of that. And I was like, done. And I did. And there you go. They've been married. Hey, you know what? And it's a good send off, because they've been married, I think now, 13 years, 14 years. So the layman's,
it was all because of your after party.
I believe it's, they met and had a courtship and all that, and got engaged. But you know what? Hey, look, they got engaged at French Laundry. Okay, one time at Food and Wine, and then had an unbelievable wedding overlooking Fifth Avenue, downtown Manhattan.
I want these friends.
Yeah, this is how you do it, folks. People say, what's the secret to a great relationship? You're like, Food and Wine and like great locations. Like, it's just like real estate, I think, maybe. Almost there. Location, and so on. But look, I know I've taken up way too much of your time. How can we find out more about this, get tickets for next year if it hasn't been sold out yet?
So all of our events will be on NOWFE.com. And then we actually already have our dates. We love June. So we are June 8th through the 12th, 2022. And then just on a daily basis.
June 8th through the 12th. Hold on. I'm putting it in the calendar. June 8th. Okay, done.
Perfect. So Wednesday to a Sunday event, June 8th through the 12th. And then just to keep up with us on a daily basis, because we don't have our events live for sale yet, you can follow us on Instagram, which is just at NOWFE.
Okay. At NOWFE, that's what it's all about. And right, NOWFE, we need to wrap this up, folks. It's wine on Bourbon Street. Yeah, it really is, including that last after party.
Never again.
So, folks, get your tickets. Get them early. Maybe next year we can broadcast live from the festival. We'll do a follow-up. I would like that.
I would love that.
It'd be
done and done.
Interviewing lineups of chefs and just patrons coming through and private jet owners and all these wonderful people there. And folks, we might see you there. But we will definitely see you next time on festivalPass Stories. Aimee Brown, Executive Director of NOWFE. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
This is festivalPass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next.